We welcome you live to Storrs, Connecticut, where you can see players making their way across the field. A tarp is being rolled out. It's about to come into the corner of your screen, and there it is. So, yes, the Big East regular season title is on the line here today, but the majority of the UConn Huskies are being utilized instead to put a tarp out on the field as inclement weather has arrived, and it's about to, we presume, escalate as we get deeper into the 1 o'clock hour. He's Joe D'Ambrosio. I'm Adam Giardino. We'll take a look at what's at stake here today, Joe, and it's pretty cut and dry. The winner of this one is your 2025 Big East regular season champs.
Yeah, Adam, it's come down to game number 108 in the conference. There's only one other game going on. The winner wins the regular season title and gets the number one seed for the Big East tournament, which begins Wednesday at the Villanova Softball Complex. The loser is the 2 seed. They will play in the second game on Thursday. The winner will play in the first game on Thursday as the players help bring the tarp on the field. Bad weather or weather, not totally unexpected, but I think this shower came in a little sooner than people expected. The forecast had been for 3 o'clock or so for things to happen, and it's happened a little bit earlier. Working minor league baseball, you're used to this bringing this tarp on the field thing.
I'm used to not sitting up here announcing this. I'm used to being one of the people down on the field.
Right, that's what I mean.
Pulling the tarp myself.
Yeah,
so
Jeff Dooley has told me many a story of the days when he was a youngin' with the Rockcats/Yard Goats. Now not quite in that vein. So when you look at Adam, when you look at this series, certainly Peyton Kinney dominant in game 1, Loralee Francia dominant in game 2, and it's Anna Serafinko who pitched well, just not good enough on Friday going against Kinney, who for the first time this year is starting 3 games in a row in the league.
Yeah, and for a grad student in Peyton Kinney, you have to imagine that if your coach comes to you, you don't even take a breath before saying, yes, absolutely, get me out there. And so Peyton Kinney and Anna Serafinko, who we saw on Friday, that was the matchup that produced a low-scoring classic. We'll have it again for you just as soon as this rain blows through. So we are in a weather delay here in Storrs.
And I don't want to interrupt you, but you can see the wind is making it difficult to put the tarp down on the field. The tarp is billowing with the wind, so perhaps we're in for a little bit longer delay than we might have imagined. But they wouldn't have brought the tarp on if they didn't look at their forecast and see that this is not just a brief shower, that this may be here for a while, as they're going to put the tractor on one end of the tarp to try to anchor it.
So go have some lunch.
Yeah.
Keep checking in.
Have lunch for us.
We are going to have softball for you here today. There is too much on the line to not.
They'll play.
Unless
there's lightning. And it doesn't seem like this is a storm that includes lightning. Lightning brings a whole different element into it. If there's lightning, you have to wait 30 minutes between lightning strikes, and that can be a long process. But if you look at all the weather apps, and I've got almost all of them, I think, on my phone, it doesn't seem like lightning is a factor. It's just rain. And I think what they did, Adam, is they didn't want to start the game, get the pitchers out there, and then have a delay.
So Sarah Blaskowitz puts down one more plate to make sure that gets secured.
Does that count as her time in the weight room today?
I think it does. 25 pounds, good enough. Absolutely, more than I've done. So we'll step aside. We'll keep you posted. Again, there is too much on the line here today to not get in 7 innings of softball. So we will have softball for you. And again, another piece of this, St. John's not catching a flight anywhere. So they're going to wait it out. If this were a team that had to fly in, a Creighton, for instance, a Butler, it would be a little more complicated. But it's a bus ride back to Queens, and so these two teams more than ready to wait this out as long as it takes. We will as well. We'll have coverage for you just as soon as it begins. This is Big East Softball from Storrs. This is a presentation of the Big East Digital Network, presented by Invesco QQQ, the official ETF of the Big East Conference. It's Championship Sunday in the Big East, and that trophy will be awarded to the regular season champ. The winner of this one will lock up the title as well as the top seed in next week's Big East tournament. And we'll find out whether the crown belongs to UConn or St. John's in a matter of hours here in Storrs. Hey, everybody, and welcome inside. He's Joe D'Ambrosio. I'm Adam Giardino. These are two teams who have split the first two games of this weekend set, and this sets up, Joe, a do or die for the Big East title here today as we take a look at the standings and what has brought us here.
The 108th and final Big East softball game of the regular season. UConn had a chance to clinch yesterday, but St. John's had other plans. Only one other game in progress. Whoever wins gets the 1 seed and plays the first game on Thursday. Whoever loses gets the 2 seed in the Big East tournament and plays in the 3 o'clock game. But what's more important, Adam, to this team is to win that regular season title. It would be the 9th for UConn. It would be the 4th for St. John's, and their first since 2019.
We'll take a look at the starters, and this is identical to what we saw on Friday. And Friday's game was a 3-0 victory for UConn, in which Peyton Kinney was downright outstanding for UConn.
Yeah, Kinney went the distance, 4 hits, struck out 8, only walked 1 batter. She came back yesterday because Hope Jenkins is a little bit banged up and couldn't go, and Kinney got knocked out in the 4th inning. But Kinney Serafenko, I mean, that's your marquee matchup, worthy of a championship game for these two teams, which have pretty much matched their season outputs. Neither has lost a series this year. So whoever loses today, it'll be the first series all year that they lose, with records of 18-5 going in. So the weather is cleared. It never rained, but there was a cell in the area, and they took precaution. If you believe the weather apps, it's supposed to rain in 2 hours and 57 minutes, but it would seem that that's a big enough window to get the game in.
UConn takes the field. You can see that the Huskies, as they come on out, they've got pink socks in honor of breast cancer awareness in the finale of the 2025 regular season. A lot of folks in attendance. We've had unofficial sellouts the last 2 days, and by the looks of it, we've got a packed house again here today in Storrs. 00 is Peyton Kinney. She's ready to take the ball in the circle when we return. It is time for our national anthem. We'll have the starting lineups and the first pitch of UConn and St. John's when we return to Storrs. to the UConn Huskies Friday night.
Yeah, it's 2-0 in the sixth when Kaea Higa, with a big triple, that scored Kat Pettis. And that was more than enough for Peyton Kinney, who went the distance, ending it with a strikeout of Natalie Casto, her 8th K of the game. So UConn went away from winning the title, but St. John's had other plans yesterday.
They sure did. Early on and really all game long, Lorelei Francia was outstanding, 11 strikeouts over 7 innings, and she was able to hold back the UConn offense until the top of the 4th when the Red Storm plated 3 runs, including that 2-run single by Alana Leshak. They had a 4-0 lead. Kat Pettis hit a 3-run home run, but that was as close as UConn would get. A 4-3 victory for St. John's, which dovetails into today, where the regular season title is on the line.
Yeah, same lineup that head coach Michelle DiPolo trotted out there yesterday. Certainly a lot of speed and ability at the top. And Alana Leshak had come in a slump, but she had a big 2-run hit yesterday. She had a base hit, one of the 4 hits on Friday. As you get a look at Kinney's numbers from yesterday when she got the start, a couple times this year she has pitched all 3 games in a Big East weekend, but she has not started 3 times. And again, that's due to the injury to Hope Jenkins. As you get a look at the UConn defensive lineman, pretty much what we've seen. Haley Kupal has taken over as the second baseman with Hope Jenkins out. Savannah Ring will be the DH. So as Jess Bianco steps into the batter's box, stepping up to the microphone to take you through the first 2 innings, here's Adam Giardino.
Thank you, Joe. The wind blows out just as it has most of this season and as it has all weekend long. For a team that leads the Big East in home runs, that might be the benefit of the UConn Huskies on an overcast and potentially rainy afternoon. As we get underway, a swing and a miss at 1:35, officially a 30-minute delay. But we welcome you inside here on an overcast Sunday in Storrs. The top of this lineup for St. John's, as Hastings is there, and on 2 pitches, Bianco is retired. The top of this lineup is what you don't want to mess with Bianco and Girard if you're UConn pitching.
Jess Bianco worked Kinney for a 10-pitch at bat to open the game on Friday before striking out. Here's London Girard, who's probably Grace Jenkins' top competition for Conference Player of the Year, which will be announced this week.
And to the bat flicked foul by Girard. And we surmised that the team that wins the Big East regular season title is probably the team that gets to stake its claim for Player of the Year. Jenkins and Girard both have outstanding numbers this season. Pop fly, Hastings tracking, and another fly ball in foul territory for out number 2.
You would think, barring some bizarre ballot box shenanigans, that the pitcher we'll see in the bottom half of the first, Anna Serafinko, will be the pitcher of the year, and Kat Pettis will be the rookie or the freshman of the year.
That all checks out with my unofficial ballot. Here's Anise Thompson, who takes a called strike 1.
Did you do some exit polling to come up with that?
Just down the road from
How did we have
Quinnipiac.
elections without exit polling?
That's right.
Or is it said on one large sports network, Quinnipiac?
No balls and a strike. Upstairs on Thompson. Thompson saw her 5-game hitting streak, the best of her season, get snapped yesterday. She was hit by a pitch, and then her pinch runner scored, helping contribute to that 3-run inning. Peyton Kinney yesterday went 9 up, 9 down, first time through the order, and that's when St. John's put 3 runs on the board when it turned over to Bianco and Girard a second time.
Almost got her elbow in the way of that one. And then when Peyton Kinney was removed, Sydney Cush, who hadn't pitched since April 4th, came in and did a pretty good job for UConn. So you might see her today. Huskies would prefer that Kinney goes the distance, much as she did on Friday night.
3-1. Hammered on the ground, foul. Yeah, Cush came in and gave up just 1 run over 3 2/3. Now, the run she gave up ended up being the game-winning run. She entered, though, in a jam where St. John's had already scored 3 runs, and Alana Leshak was at third, Cassidy Stouffer was at second, but she induced a ground out and a fly out and prevented further damage in that 4th inning. Lasered to left center field, but Kibling aligned perfectly. A couple of flyouts and a lineout. Part of a 1-2-3 first turned in by Peyton Kinney. It's UConn's turn to bat against Anna Serafinko when we return.
Here's the lineup that Laura Valentino will trot out there after batting 6th on Friday, which turned out to be fortuitous because it was her spot that came up with a big triple. Kaya Higa in the 3 spot again today. Rosie Garcia dropped to 6th, and they will face the left-hander from California, Anna Serafinko, who went the distance 6 innings the other night on the season. Serafinko, she's been flat out brilliant. 19-8, a 2.29 ERA. She struck out 268 in 177 innings. As you look at the Red Storm defense, that's committed 38 errors on the season.
Hastings was held hitless on senior day, and she chops one foul for strike 1. Just a little extra giddy up from Serafinko than what we saw yesterday from Lorelei Francia, and also left-handed as opposed to the right-hander Francia. Defensive swing as Hastings cuts over the top of it for strike 2.
Lexi had an infield single to start the 4th inning for UConn when the Huskies had started up 9 down, a couple stolen bases, and she came across to score the first run.
Pitch away, good take by Hastings.
David Bueno calling balls and strikes. Daniel Keefe at first. Jay Breckbeil, the umpire, at third.
The ball, 2 strikes. Hastings goes down, a near identical pitch to the one she took for ball 1. Instead, 1 batter, 1 strikeout from Anna Serafinko.
Down and away, it looked like a ball, but Hastings couldn't hold up for the first out of the bottom of the first.
Serafinko entered the week 2nd in the country in strikeouts, 260 of those. She added 8 more on Friday. She's added 1 more here today. And she's gotten ahead on Grace Jenkins, 0-1.
And that 269 is a single season St. John's record.
She's working these hitters away, and Jenkins able to take.
She had shared the record for a minute with Megan Allen from 2002, who struck out 267.
Megan Allen did it in far more innings than Serafinko has, and Serafinko's 3rd in the country in strikeouts per 7 at over 10.5 strikeouts per game. The 2-1. Jenkins takes inside. Pretty good pitch, but ball 3.
Good patience by Jenkins not to pull the trigger there on what looked like a pretty good pitch.
She'd been worked away, and Serafenko came inside. Here's the 3-1, and that is ball 4. So a 5-pitch walk is Grace Jenkins' ho-hum on base streak up to 27 games.
And if you were with us on Friday, we told you that Serafenko can get a little wild. She had an 11-walk game this season. That's the 79th walk she's given up in 177 to third innings.
Big swing and fouled off by Higa, who just gets a piece of it. And so Jenkins back to first.
And they're giving Kaea the same gap in right center that she used for the triple in the 6th inning that we showed you on the highlights.
It was a great effort by Bianco to try and make that catch. Even if it didn't result in a triple, it would have resulted in a sac fly regardless. Right. Kat Pettis was at third base. She would have scored. And so it worked out the same, but provided a little extra giddy-up for UConn when Higa slid in with her triple.
Second triple of the season for Higa.
Stays alive as she fouls off the 0-2. From Maple Valley, Washington, in Tahoma High School.
She had an RBI in 4 straight games till yesterday. And Kat Pettis had all the RBI.
3-run homer in the bottom of the 6th inning. Fired up UConn's dugout, but in the 7th, weren't able to get anything going as Kupal, Heidi Barber, and Caitlin Kibling were retired in order. Here's the 1-2. Fouled off the front foot of Higa.
It was funny. Laura Valentino never goes for a ball in that third base coach's box. Husky's 6th-year head coach. Ashley Bushgan's coaching at first. Serafenko looks like she's throwing as hard as she did the other night when she took the loss.
Well, and you know, that's the benefit of St. John's having a couple healthy pitchers. Here's Higa down the line and foul. Kept it straight, but started wide of the chalk. And for UConn, Peyton Kinney enters today having thrown 10 innings this weekend versus Serafenko hasn't thrown since Friday night. So she has the luxury of being a little extra giddy up on these pitches. 2-2, big swing and a miss as Serafenko baits Higa out of the strike zone, and 2 outs, 2 strikeouts by Serafenko.
Yeah, I think Higa was looking to put it out of the ballpark. As you see, there are 6 teams that haven't struck, or 5 teams that haven't struck out as many as Anna Serafenko.
That's every team. Creighton has the second most strikeouts in the Big East, behind St. John's, who has close to 500 as a team coming into today. Pitching staff is 482. Creighton wakes up today with just over 200.
The only other game is Creighton and Seton Hall, and they're tied at 2 in Omaha in the bottom of the 6th. Creighton is assured to be in the 4 seed. Even if they win, they would tie Villanova, but Nova swept the season series. With that 3-run homer yesterday, Kat Pettis 25 RBI in the last 17 games. Just has become a model of consistency in her first year.
Couple of strikes on her with Grace Jenkins at first. Just misses away.
And we see that's the pattern with Serafenko. Gets up 2 strikes, tries to expand the zone to the outside. Huskies need to be patient.
2-2. Wanted to chase, but didn't.
It took the first base umpire, Daniel Keefe,
Yeah.
about 10 seconds to hear David Bueno ask him if it was a swing or not.
I think it was so far from being a swing, he just didn't expect an appeal was coming. 3-2, changeup is called strike 3 at the top of the zone. Pettis goes down looking, and Serafinko strikes out the side with a walk in the mix. The freshman Pettis frozen on one at the belt. Scoreless headed into the second inning. Peyton Kinney returns to the circle after a scoreless bottom first and 3 strikeouts from Anna Serafinko.
Yeah, and if she's going to get this call from David Bueno all day, it's going to make life tough for the Huskies. That pitch looked to be up, and if she gets the high strike and the low strike, that will make her even more effective, though she doesn't need any help.
And if you're St. John's, you would have argued that maybe she was squeezed a little inside-outside in the first inning, and so maybe strike zone up and down versus in and out here today, at least based on inning number 1. Speaking of Anna Serafinko, she stands in on the left side against Peyton Kinney.
Kinney with just 10 pitches in that first inning. She threw 119 Friday night, 52 more yesterday.
Serafinko needed quite a few, 135 pitches to get through her 6 innings on Friday. But again, had all of yesterday off.
Yeah, had her feet up in the dugout, maybe relaxing.
Well, she went 0 for 4.
Well, when she wasn't hitting.
Here's the pitch, a swing and a soft fly. She just missed it on a ball shy of the warning track. Just out in front as Serafinko flies out to begin the second.
I don't know if Caitlin Breslin didn't see that at first, or she just had it measured from the beginning, but as you see, as Adam said, Serafinko just got under it. Breslin actually took a step to the side and then drifted back and easily made the catch.
Alana Leshak takes ball 1. I think that's a pretty good reminder for outfielders on both teams that the wind is blowing out today. Even though Serafinko got under it, that ball got a little extra push. The pop up. Jenkins retreats.
Crowd oohing and eyeing as the ball went over the screen. And now the crowd quiet as they check on that front row. Hopefully everybody is okay.
It's a ball and a strike. Now it's 2 balls and a strike on Leshak.
Leshak had been in a 1 for 17 slump coming in, but she's 2 for 5 this weekend with a couple of RBI as Grace Jenkins goes out to have a word with her pitcher.
These two teams have battled for months from early February when games began, now into early May. And it is all coming down to this. Both these teams will re-engage with the second day of the Big East Championship on Thursday. But a win would go a long way towards building up some momentum heading into the tournament. Two balls and one strike. Hammered down the line and hooked foul. Two balls, two strikes.
Doesn't matter if the ball's 5 feet over the fence or 15 feet over the fence. Lexi Hastings will always jump at that outfield wall. I mean, that ball's way foul. Lexi could have been the world's greatest high jumper, and she couldn't have come down with that one.
Coaching staff raves about her athleticism, but that might be to an extreme.
Guinea and Kirk to 38-footer that time.
Full count here on Leshak as Kinney has retired the first four that she has faced here today in her final game at Burrell Family Field. Hammered, foul, again down the line.
But Kinney's burying that pitch inside, and that's all that Leshak can do with it. Is send it foul. Peyton Kinney, 46 career wins, 8th all-time in UConn history.
Upstairs, and a great exchange worked by Leshak, who had a big two-run single yesterday and comes up as the game's first base runner for the Johnnies.
Good patience, spoiled a couple of pitches, and then drew the one-out walk. And Leshak a threat to go, 16 for 16 on the base paths this season. St. John's third in the Big East with 74 steals.
And she's tops on the team in stolen bases in Big East play, so 8 of 8 in non-conference play, 8 of 8 in conference, even though Jess Bianco has blown her away with 28 steals on the season. Bianco's only got 6 steals coming into the Big East. Cassidy Stouffer, where, again, a ball in is hit hard, but foul.
Well, they're making Kinney work. I mean, we talk that the pitch count not as important in softball as it is in baseball, but when you're pitching the third day in a row, you want to be economical. You don't want to be out there for 22 pitch innings.
The 0-2 is fouled back off the top of the screen, and it comes back and catches the heel of Stouffer, who hit it.
That couldn't have felt good. She didn't flinch, but
nothing in 2. The count remains on Stouffer. Upstairs.
Kat Pettis at shortstop playing way over in the 5-6 hole. So if Stouffer can ground one back up the middle, that'll go through for a base hit. Higa playing off the line at first. Kibling way over in left center for the right-hand hitting Stouffer.
Battled away, and Peyton Kinney on Friday had 7 strikeouts. She had 3 more yesterday, but I think we are starting to see maybe just the lack of a put-away pitch on day 3 of her weekend. Higa calling, makes the catch. 2 gone. Leshak, the stolen base threat, remains at first.
You might see Leshak go here.
Yep.
Try to get a runner in scoring position for Melanie Santos, who's on a 8-game hitting streak.
We did not see a stolen base attempt by St. John's yesterday. We saw One attempted on Friday, and it was Jess Bianco, and Grace Jenkins gunned her down. Irrespective of the potential for rain, it is a nice day to be hanging out and watching some softball. A flare called by Pettis. She ranges to make the catch. And the first base runner for St. John's left stranded in the top of the second inning. We're scoreless through 1.5 here in Storrs.
So if the Big East gave out a most improved player, I would think the person who you're seeing up close and personal, Caitlin Breslin, would be the candidate for that. Going into the weekend in conference games, led the league in batting average, home runs, and runs batted in. And her ability to get into one, really critical in a big game like this. You'd like to be able to get a run on a moment's notice, not have to build a run, which is not easy against someone of Anna Serafinko's skills. She has given up 12 home runs this season in 178 innings, which isn't a lot, but it's probably more than you'd think of somebody as effective as she is.
On Friday, Breslin had a hit off of Serafinko. UConn picked up just 5 hits in the win, a 3-0 victory over St. John's.
And then what, they have 4 hits yesterday? So it's the offense with only this league-leading offense with just 9 hits in the first 2 games.
Plus
2 games in the 2 and 1/7 games.
15 innings worth. Pretty good. 15 innings, only 9 hits allowed by St. John's pitching.
So the fact that UConn's got a win out of that is a good sign.
On the ground, the throw sails, but the tag on the helmet applied. Great play by Melanie Santos to help out Konopka.
Konopka's got 12 errors on the season and almost came up with number 13 there, but she comes up with it cleanly, and then she just fired it hard to first. But watch Santos, presence of mind to come down with the tag on the top of the helmet for the first out of the inning.
Yeah, Konopka came up with it cleanly, but I think there was
a little bobble.
Just digging the ball out of her glove. It took an extra beat, and from there, that's what can cause a throw to sail like it did. So here's Rosie Garcia.
Rosie looking for her first hit of the weekend. 0 for 6 as we get a look watch from the first base camera. That was pretty close.
Nicely done by Santos. On the ground, Girard up the middle, fires a strike.
Well, we told you St. John's only 38 errors in the first 54 games, and Gerard, only 2 errors at shortstop this year, which is makes me look and think I may have copied it wrong. But smooth fielding shortstop, that's for sure.
For Gerard, I've got her at 6, which,
yes,
regardless,
it's still not a lot.
pretty good. Yeah. Haley Kupal ahead in the count. Not something many of these hitters for UConn have been able to say so far. That is one area where we have not seen Serafinko throw a wild pitch this year, but she had 17 of those in 177 innings, so
right.
We're still talking every game and a half that she uncorks one.
But she throws so hard, you could see where the ball could get away from her.
Now 2 balls and a strike on Haley Kupal, who's hitting .270 on the season. Her freshman year, she hit .300, but it was only 46 at bats worth. And then last year, she hit under .200, so this has been a nice turnaround for someone who has been needed in moments where UConn has dealt with some short-term injuries. Rosie Garcia, Kaea Higa, and now Kupal getting an opportunity to play second base pretty regularly with Savannah Ring slumping some. But Savannah Ring is in the lineup today in place of Hope Jenkins, who's dinged up.
Yeah, 21 starts in the last 22 games for Kupal at third, first, and second.
He's up to the challenge so far, battles away another pitch from Anna Serafinko.
Serafinko, 4 pitches in her arsenal that she can throw for strikes at any time, and will throw for strikes with 2 strikes.
We saw her go to the looping changeup on strike 3 called last inning to Kat Pettis. 3-2 to Kupal. Sends Laura Valentino hopping out of the way.
When you've got somebody as effective as Serafinko, you're thinking, I want to jump on it early because the best pitch I might see might be the first or second pitch.
Instead, Kupal again just down to grind it out here against Serafinko, who needed just 6 pitches to put away Breslin and Garcia, and has needed far more than that here in the exchange against Kupal. 3-2. Swing and a miss as Serafinko has 4 strikeouts over 2 scoreless, hitless innings in the finale of 2025. A Big East title on the line this afternoon. Joe D takes over when we return.
Two very important people in my life, Riker Bowman.
Peyton Kinney's thrown 28 pitches through the first 2 innings. Has walked 1, hasn't struck out a batter, but strikeouts not as big in Peyton's arsenal as they have been in the past. You look at the Big East tournament on its way. We know UConn will be, and St. John will be 1 and 2. We know Creighton will be 4. Villanova will be 3 and Butler will be 5. The only position left for grabs is the 6th seed between Providence and Seton Hall. Jody Ambrosio, Adam Giardino. Glad to have the impresario, Noam Watt, back in the producer's chair, ruling with an iron fist as always. Here's Natalie Casto to lead it off, hitting 260 on the season. Red Storm second baseman. It'll be Casto, Madison Konopka, and then around to the top of the order for Jess Bianco. Big East regular season championship game. Winner takes home a trophy.
Conference couldn't have drawn it up any better.
No, exactly. And don't forget, St. John's was not the preseason pick. Villanova was. UConn was picked second. The Red Storm was picked third.
And there's still plenty to be afraid of Villanova next week.
Well, especially playing at home. This one's hit to left. Hastings has a bead on it, and just before the warning track, makes her third catch in foul territory of the first 7 outs.
We have not seen St. John's pick up an extra base hit this weekend in 15-plus innings. They grabbed the win yesterday to the tune of 8 singles, but haven't seen a whole lot of power, per se, from St. John's, although off the bat, that one looked like it might have had a shot there from Casto.
It's a freshman third baseman, Madison Konopka, moves up in the box.
For Villanova, they've got Miranda Runco, who has caught fire at the end of the season. She hit 2 more home runs today. She has tied Grace Jenkins with 18 home runs now this season.
Villanova, a 13-5 winner over Providence in their regular season finale. Konopka ahead on the count. 2 balls and no strikes. Her sister, Caitlin, plays softball at Shepherd University. As we see Grace Jenkins go out to confer with Kinney.
And she played softball at Shepherd that's down in West Virginia. She was 3-time first team All-MEC, the MEC. And she's a career 340 hitter down there.
What is the MEC? Mountain East Conference? You got to go look it up.
I give you all of that.
Got to get the Google going. Well, I expect you to know that stuff,
more.
Adam. Come on. You're a fountain of misinformation. A fountain of information.
Miss it, yeah. No, I'm.
So Grace Jenkins has her piece with Peyton Kinney.
Mountain East. You nailed it.
Wow.
Mhm.
What a guess that was.
Pretty good.
Not just another pretty face, you know. Here's Kinney's 2-0 pitch to Konopka. Swings and misses it as she tries to cut and slash. 2 balls and 1 strike.
Want me to give you the 11 schools that are part of the Mountain East Conference in softball?
Sure, why not?
I'm going to give them to you regardless.
Yeah, whether I want them or not.
Yeah, it didn't really matter.
I'm going to hear them.
Mhm.
Pitch is popped up in the infield. Pettis takes charge. That's the second out of the inning.
Fairmont State, West Liberty, Point Park, Frostburg State, Wheeling, Glenville State, Charleston, Davis and Elkins, Concord, West Virginia Wesleyan, and West Virginia State.
I was going to guess West Virginia Wesleyan. I had a good friend who unfortunately has passed on who went to West Virginia Wesleyan. I used to kid him and tell me he's the only person I ever knew who went there, so it must have not have been that hard. Here's Bianco, who fouled out to Hastings to lead off the ball game. No score. We haven't had a base hit yet. In fact, we've only had 2 base runners, a walk apiece, issued by Kinney and Serafinko. Bianco with that world-class speed, much like Hastings. That one's in for a strike. 1-1. You'd have to think Bianco, with her numbers, a contender for all Big East honor. She was second team pick a year ago.
She had 352 last year with 25 steals, so she added on a couple of steals and she raised the batting average almost 50 points.
Swings through that one. Then Kinney ahead on the count 1-2. Another huge crowd here at Burrell Family Field. People are standing along the ramps. Kinney trying to get back into the dugout with another 1-2-3 inning. Kind of an emergency hack.
And the second time this
And
weekend.
Bianco's out.
Yeah, second time this weekend. She's out of the box.
So that goes as a strikeout for Kinney, her first of the game. Another 1-2-3 inning. We go to the bottom of the third inning for UConn. It'll be Kibling, Ring, and Hastings. No score here on the Big East Digital Network.
Third inning of Anna Serafinko in the holster here in the bottom of the third inning with this game scoreless, and Anna Serafinko is doing exactly what you might expect. She has struck out 4 over 2 hitless innings and continues to assert herself as not just one of the best strikeout artists in the conference, she's the best. She is one of the best strikeout artists in the country.
Caitlin Kibling, the Husky center fielder, will lead off as you look at Serafinko's line through the first 2 innings. Kibling flies one deep to center. Bianco going back, and a step before crashing into the wall makes the catch. Kibling gave that one a pretty good ride for the first out of the inning.
There's a whole lot to like about what Caitlin Kibling has been doing lately. She had a couple of flyouts to center field yesterday in addition to an infield single, but there's a lot being barreled up by Kibling, which obviously benefits UConn this year, but it'll benefit them over the next couple of years with Kibling taking on an increased role in this offense.
Savannah Ring takes the first pitch outside. Second straight start for Ring as the designated hitter. Went 0 for 2 yesterday in St. John's 4-3 win. Konopka playing in at third. Santos a couple of steps in at first, and count is even at 1-1.
And oh, by the way, just Bianco's playing center field was pretty darn solid there.
That was a strong,
Yeah.
got a good jump. And again, when you're fast, even if you make a mistake on steppage, you got good makeup speed. Serafinko misses up. Ring patiently takes it. 2 balls and 1 strike. Lexi Hastings awaits on deck. One of the seniors honored yesterday, senior day ceremonies. Always good to get it out of the way before the last game. Ground ball. Konopka bobbles it, and there'll be no play. That should be an error on Madison Konopka, because if she comes up cleanly with it, she's going to nail Ring at first base. So a 1-out base runner for Lexi Hastings, who was a strikeout victim her first time up.
A step or two to the left for Konopka, who had a ball roll up on her last inning with Caitlin Breslin and wasn't harmed because of a great play by her first baseman to bail her out, but there, no ability to get bailed out.
Lexi's been a little bit of a slide lately. 5 for her last 24 over the last 7 games. Lofts one foul down the left field line. 1 ball, 1 strike. You see the Huskies wearing the pink socks. Breast Cancer Awareness Day here at Burrell Family Field.
He's running on a runway to try to track down John Avanis.
Right, she's currently 11 behind with at least 2 games to play.
She hopes far more.
Ring not much of a threat to go, and Serafinko falls behind Hastings 3-1 with the ever-dangerous Grace Jenkins awaiting on deck.
Yeah, and for Savannah Ring, first 2 years with UConn, she did have 20 stolen bases combined. That's just a different part of her game this year.
Fly ball, right center field. Bianco gives chase and easily puts it away. She covers a lot of ground out there. Ring retreats to first, and there's 2 away.
The first play was more or less straight back. This one, Bianco, a hard sprint to her left, catching it in stride. And you could just get a sense that that was off the end of the bat from Hastings.
Don't normally see her go pull side. Jenkins walked her first time up, the only walk given up. Ground ball. Serafinko feels her position well and works around the 1-out error. So we're through 3, and it's been the expected pitchers duel. No score between UConn and St. John's. Winner walks away with the Big East regular season championship. You can see on the facilities building at the first base line all the strikeout cancer who people are fighting for on this breast cancer awareness Sunday. No score. Neither team has a hit. St. John's committed the only error. It'll be London Jarrett, Anise Thompson, and a Serafinko against Peyton Kinney.
Yeah, being able to neutralize Jess Bianco to end the inning is a big lift for Peyton Kinney rather than having to deal with London Gerard with Jess Bianco on ahead of her.
Gerard fouled out to Hastings her first time up. All-time single-season RBI leader at St. John's, 57. So far, just 1 for 7 on the weekend. Mainly against Kinney. I would gather 1 or 2 at-bats against Sydney Cush yesterday. And Kinney falls behind on the count 2-0. This is the point yesterday, 4th inning, where St. John made its move.
First time through the order.
Right.
Got good eyes on Peyton Kinney. Now, they had already seen Peyton Kinney for 7 innings on Friday. So it doesn't necessarily correlate with, okay, we've seen her stuff now once today. This stuff should be the same. Maybe it's just a matter of 4th inning, Kinney starts to fatigue a little.
Falls behind on the count, 3-0. And it's a 4-pitch walk to London Jarrett to start the 4th inning.
And Gerard has had 3 walks this weekend, and all 3 of them in each of the 3 games have been 4-pitch walks.
Here's the catcher, Anise Thompson, who lined out to Caitlin Kibling in center field her first time up. Gerard a threat to go, 11 for 12 on the bases. We'll see what Michelle DiPolo has in her bag of tricks. She almost got hit in the bag of tricks right there. She stands way out of the coach's box along the third base dugout. And she almost wore it there.
Hang out behind the railing this time. And honestly, Thompson, her first time up, did pepper her down in the
Right.
coach's box.
Maybe that's where she moved back.
Girard, as we talked about with St. John's, they've stolen some bases this year, but a lot of it came in non-conference play. So Girard is only 3 of 4 stealing bases in Big East.
Look out. Again. DePolo has to duck. Thompson hitting a couple of bullets.
If you're Kinney here, you think you go away on this pitch, but you better be sure you go away and don't miss your spot, because Thompson is sending that barrel over the heart of the plate.
Thompson 8 for her last 20. Runner at first, nobody out. Kinney misses outside. Again, trying to expand the zone. Game number 50 for UConn. Game number 56. As you get a look from our center field camera. This one's roped to center field. It's going to dunk down for the first hit of the game. So good job with 2 strikes. So the first 2 St. John's batters get on here in the top of the 4th inning.
And that's for not being able to find the zone against London Girard, and Girard patiently working that walk can certainly hurt. Now Anna Serafinko, who the way that she's gone up there this weekend, she's just 1 for 8. I think you ask her to bunt.
Oh, in a game like this, absolutely. Flew out to Breslin and Ryder, first time up, swinging away. Couldn't catch up to the pitch up in the zone.
Serafinko has not been asked to bunt yet this year.
Or she has, and it hasn't been successful.
There you go. In 64 at-bats.
No matter what level of baseball, softball, t-ball, wiffle ball you play at, the cleanup hitter not often asked to put down a bunt.
In T-ball, which spot in the order is usually asked to bunt in your expertise?
I would say 8, 9, and 10.
Okay.
1-1 pitch. Kinney blows it by her, a ball and 2 strikes. And those T-ball kids, I'll tell you what, major leaguers could take lessons from them on bunting. Because if you have to bunt off a tee, you got to have some mad skills.
You rarely miss.
Well, if you miss, you're not playing the next game. You might as well be wearing a wristwatch out there. Kinney ahead on the count 1-2. Swung on and missed. Strike 3. Big strikeout for the grad student. 1 away here in the 4th.
And that was Peyton Kinney maybe having a sense that Serafinko was pressing some. She's pitching. She wants to get herself the lead, help herself out. And instead, she ends up chasing strike 3 way up out of the zone. But you can see that ball was in the zone up until it really exploded once it got in on her.
Here's Alana Leshak. Drew a 1-out walk in the 2nd. 2 for 13 in her career against UConn. Game number 113 in the National Flag Blue and White for Peyton Kinney. That pitch catches the inside corner for a strike. It's 1-1. You know, Grace Jenkins is great for us because if the home plate umpire, in this case David Bueno, is slow raising the right hand, Jenkins will let you know if it's a strike or not.
An extroverted catcher.
Runners on first and second. Grounded foul, and Kinney ahead on the count. 1-2.
It's a rather extroverted battery. Peyton Kinney also not afraid to show it out there in the circle.
Yeah, Kinney does not hide her. She's not a poker face, let's put it that way.
Correct.
They've gone final in Omaha, and Creighton has beaten Seton Hall by a score of 3-2 which means that Providence will be the 6th seed in the Big East tournament, and they will play Villanova in the opening game on Wednesday at noon as Giselle Juarez, the UConn pitching coach, goes out to the mound. And then the second game at 3 o'clock will be Creighton against Butler. The two losers will play at 6 and have a very short stay on the main line of Philadelphia.
Grace Jenkins, Peyton Kinney with Juarez going out and having a word. Peyton's always smiling out there. And so I asked, what do you say that makes her smile? And Giselle just sort of said, I don't know, just anything. Anything seems to get that reaction from Peyton Kinney, who's playing loose as her grad student, playing with house money.
Yeah.
Just somebody out there, cliched as it is, for the love of the game.
Kinney misses up. It was Juarez, who was a All-American pitcher for a national champion at Oklahoma, who threw batting practice to the Huskies on Wednesday to get them ready for the left-handed slants of Anna Serafinko. Runners on first and second. Fouled off. Good hack by Alana Leshak.
She said that Caitlin Breslin was the one that got a good piece of it and got a piece of her on a ball back up the middle.
Yeah, that can't feel good.
Felt good to get the competitive juices going again for the first time in a couple of years, though.
Fly ball, foul. Hastings gives chase. It's the concrete beyond the left field sidewall, so we'll do it again. Only hit of the ball game. A single by Anise Thompson with Gerard on first after walking. Then Serafinko struck out. Same spot, just misses. So the count is even at 2-2. The infield, the right side of the infield come in for a quick word with Kinney. Kibling a couple of steps over and left. Fouled off again. Good at bat by Leshak. Making Kinney work, driving up the pitch count here in the top of the fourth inning.
Entered the inning having thrown 40 pitches through 3, which is actually 10 pitches more economical than Anna Serafinko. St. John's, like you said, working her.
Pop foul, back this way.
Leshak worked a walk the first time up and saw 7 pitches to do so. And so she is not making life easy out there for Kinney.
So the count is actually 3-2. The scoreboard was a little bit slow, but we had it up in our bug in the left-hand corner. 3 balls, 2 strikes to the number 5 hitter, Alana Leshak, trying to give St. John's the lead here in the fourth. Fouls another one off. This is reminiscent of the Bianco at-bat that led off the game, led off the series on Friday, 10-pitch at-bat, where Bianco eventually succumbed and struck out.
Goes without saying, a little bit more leverage on the line here. Middle innings, scoreless game. Big difference between bases loaded, 1 out, and 2 outs with runners at first and second.
Popped up. Garcia gives chase. Oh, what a play by Rosie Garcia! Oh, my! Jumped over the railing in front of the third base dugout and snatched it for the second out of the inning. What a play by the senior third baseman. And the crowd appreciates Rosie's effort.
How could you not appreciate this? It's a high railing in front of both dugouts, and you cannot do it better than Rosie Garcia did it.
Here's Cassidy Stour. Stour swings and misses. And it kind of play just pumps up everybody.
The crowd is
already dialed in, right?
Yep.
Exactly. Pumps up Kinney, because that was a long battle. That was a 9-pitch at bat.
And for Melissa DiPolo and Cassidy Stouffer, I think that's what this conversation is, bringing them together to take some of the wind out of the sails of this modest momentum being built here at Burrow Family Field in a partisan UConn crowd.
Make it a 10-pitch at bat. Boy, what a play by Garcia. Rosie's still with a big grin on her face. She plays with so much emotion. Watch it once again.
How about from this angle?
Boy, she reached a couple of feet over that retaining wall in front of the dugout. St. John's runners on first and second. Ripped foul. But again, Kinney's putting that pitch in a place, Adam, where all the Red Storm can do is rip it 10, 15, 20 feet foul.
And I'm thinking for the momentum of the crowd, this game, Stouffer still has a chance to put St. John's ahead here with a single. But this is a Rosie Garcia who is 0 for 7 this weekend, her final weekend in her home ballpark.
Hit her. And the bases are loaded. Lost an 0-2 pitch. So the bases are loaded for the red-hot Melanie Santos.
That's a great job by Stouffer, who saw a pitch coming in on her. We saw something similar from Kaia Higa yesterday in the 6th inning just before the Kat Pettis home run, where it was down around her shoe tops and she did nothing to get out of the way. Stouffer happy to give what Peyton Kinney was willing to give her.
14th batter that Kinney has hit. Santos popped out to Pettis. Bases full of Red Storm. First pitch fouled off. Santos, 10 for 24 in her 8-game hit streak. Came in batting .254. 4 homers, 22 RBI. Fouls it off, and Kinney ahead on the count. 0-2. First 2 games of the weekend, St. John's was 4 for 11 with runners in scoring position. That was obviously all yesterday. Kinney trying to work out of a jam here in the top of the 4th inning and keep this de facto Big East regular season championship game scoreless. Kibling shallow in left center. Pop foul.
Yeah, to your point, on Friday, they had just one at-bat with a runner in scoring position. It was in the 1st inning after Anna Serafinko singled, putting runners at 1st and 2nd off of Peyton Kinney. Anise Thompson popped out, and then St. John's did not have a runner past first base over the final 6 innings.
London Gerard, the runner at 3rd. Anise Thompson, the runner at 2nd. Cassidy Stouffer, the runner at 1st. 0-2 count to Santos. Popped up. Can she do it again? No, this one's a little too far for Garcia as it hits the top of the dugout. There's no way to calculate this in short term, but St. John's has hit a lot of balls foul in the first 3 2/3 innings of their at-bats. Spoiling pitching.
And with the bases loaded, Kinney is still showing she's not afraid to go in on Santos, even though another hit by pitch could bring home the game's first run.
Rhythmic applause from the crowd here at Burrow Family Field. Hit her. Or not. No, didn't hit her.
They're saying foul ball. I believe we're about
to review it. I think we're going to get our first review. The umpires will gather just outside the circle.
So, to me, the fact that Santos did not leave the batter's box and try and sell a hit by pitch, Joe, means that probably didn't hit her hand.
Now the
if you're a
coaches-
batter,
yeah.
you get hit on the hand, you just start going to first.
Now Michelle DiPolo and Marissa Rizzi, the St. John's coaches, are gathered on the first baseline, and they're going to talk to DiPolo, and I would think this isn't going to come out well for the Red Storm. Laura Valentino goes out there. Let's get another look at her. You get a look at the conference, and they're going to go to the replay, I think.
Regardless of the call, it's going to be a challenge by the opposite coach. Now, based on body language, I think it's about to be a foul. I think the initial call, which is critical to know which call is the initial call, is a foul ball.
You know, she didn't flinch.
No.
It makes me think that
Yeah, got the bat.
it got the bat. So
Yeah,
Messrs. Keefe and Breckbiel will go look at the monitor.
no matter how much baseball or softball you've watched, if it gets your hand down on that part of the bat, I don't care if you are the toughest person in this ballpark, you're not just taking it.
Great job by our crew to blow up the softball there. You know, when a hitter's going well, they often look like a balloon coming up to the plate.
And I don't think it's that. I don't think because if you're Santos, it benefits you to pretend, even if the ball didn't hit you, it benefits you to just say, I got hit by it, because then the run comes home regardless.
Now, Grace Jenkins scrambled after that as Gerard raced home from third with what she thought and St. John's hoped would be the first run of the game.
To me, I think it is critical to know, this is...
Looks like it hits the knob of the bat.
It really does.
It looks pretty cut and dried from that angle, blowing up the softball.
Based on that, plus the fact that Santos at no point reacts as if the ball hits her. Because, again, if your hand is holding the knob of a bat and a pitch hits you...
Well, she's not in any pain as she's
That's
standing there. All right, so here come the umpires. The review, 1:46 if you're scoring at home.
Given the stakes, pretty good.
Yeah, not
work.
bad. Let's see what the call is.
Foul ball.
Foul ball. So break for UConn, and Michelle DiPolo will have a word with Breckbiel.
Yep.
But again, all the actions from Melanie Santos would indicate it didn't hit her hand because she exhibited no pain.
Yeah. Now, having said all of that, it's no balls, 2 strikes. Santos still has every opportunity here to put St. John's ahead.
So the Red Storm with runners on first, second, and third with 2 out. In the top of the 4th. Fouled off, and again, taking aim at head coach Michelle DiPolo, who her team is treating like a piñata in that third base coach's box. On deck, Natalie Casto. UConn hope they see her leading off the 5th. Because if not, it'll mean the Red Storm has taken the lead. This has been a stressful inning for Peyton Kinney. This is up high, good waist pitch. Try to get Santos to chase. Santos 4 for 16 against UConn in her career, with a couple of RBI. Infield back at normal depth. Fly ball deep left. Hastings going back. The ballpark will not hold it. And Melanie Santos with a grand slam, and St. John's with a 4-0 lead.
St. John's thrilled. that the review came back empty. A grand slam instead of what would have been a 1-0 lead here in the fourth inning. Demolished.
Center cut. Right over the heart of the plate. Melanie Santos did not miss it. Her 5th home run of the year. RBIs 23, 24, 25, and 26. And Anna Serafinko has a 4-0 lead. And Kinney, obviously unnerved, hits Casto.
Well, if there is an offense in the Big East that can overcome a 4-0 deficit, it certainly is UConn. But it isn't an offense that has shown itself here today or a whole lot this weekend, being held to just 9 hits over 17 innings so far by St. John's pitching.
Second game in a row that things have come unglued in the 4th inning for Peyton Kinney as Konopka steps up in the box and takes a ball. Walk, single, strikeout, foul out on a great catch by Garcia. Then a walk and a grand slam home run on a 1-2 pitch. Konopka ended up about 40 feet away from Peyton Kinney.
And for Kinney, she had Cassidy Stouffer 0-2 before hitting her.
Right.
And then had Melanie Santos 0-2 with the grand slam.
Swung on and missed. Ball and 2 strikes. So what UConn baseball coach Jim Penders likes to call the free 90s. Coming back to hurt Peyton Kinney. The walk and the hit batsman before the grand slam. Check swing by Konopka to spoil it. And the other thing for Kinney is they have driven up the pitch count in this inning. And you wonder just how much is left in the tank. One and 2 the count. Madison Konopka swings and misses, strike 3, but the damage was done. A grand slam home run by Melanie Santos to stretch her hitting streak to 9 and give St. John's a 4-0 lead as we go to the bottom of the 4th. It'll be Kaya Higa, Kat Pettis, and Caitlin Breslin up to the plate. UConn's got some work to do here in Storrs.
There are a few pitchers that you want to try to overcome a 4-run deficit against beyond Anna Serafinko. If you're St. John's, you're loving this right here.
Now, we're going to have another conference here. And do we think there's bad weather in the offing?
I wonder if there's a lightning strike. That could be the only thing that...
We had a 30-minute delay at the start of the game when it never rained. So they're talking things over, you can see.
Yeah, the weather just reaching summer limits here where we're starting to get lightning and those sorts of things.
I think we're going to go into another delay. Michelle DiPolo walks out of the third base dugout and wants to know what's up.
I think that's the answer, is that even though there's no rain falling per se, lightning in the area.
Well, they're looking behind the third base stands. Perhaps that's where they saw the lightning strike. So the umpires are conferring. And I guess we'll play on as Daniel Keefe, first base umpire, talks to Laura Valentino. So no delay. It'll be 3-4-5 for UConn. Kaea Higa struck out in the first, one of 4 strikeout victims by Anna Serafinko that runs that all-time single-season St. John's record to 272. Misses inside for a ball. It'll be Higa, Kat Pettis, and Caitlin Breslin. Yesterday it was 2 in the fourth. Today it was 4 in the fourth. Higa lofts one to right, but played perfectly by Lee Shack. 1 up, 1 down here in the fourth.
And so UConn having to play from behind for a second straight day. They turned a 4-0 deficit into a 4-3 game thanks to a 3-run home run by Kat Pettis.
Pettis took a called third strike. Swings over it. No balls and 1 strike. Serafinko leads the Big East in called third strikes, as well as just third strikes. 4-2-1 for the Storm. UConn still hunting that first base hit of the game with 1 out here in the bottom of the fourth. Open stance for Kat Pettis. Takes it inside. 2 balls and 1 strike. Huskies have had 2 base runners. 1 out walk to Grace Jenkins in the first, and then Ring reached on an error by Konopka in the third. Pettis ahead on the count, 3-1.
Missed a little in, missed a little away. Pretty good spots from Serafinko, but didn't get either spot from home plate ump David Bueno.
Outfield straight away for Pettis. Lofts one. Deep center field to the wall and gone. Second day in a row that Kat Pettis has gone yard. The first hit and the first run for UConn. It's 4-1 St. John's.
Different vibe, given the timing of it all, but just as important for Kat Pettis and the UConn Huskies to find a home run, at least to announce their presence in this game off of Serafinko. Not exactly majestic, just a missile lined off the bat of Pettis.
Caitlin Breslin grounded out to third her first time up. So for Pettis, her 12th home run, her 42nd RBI, it's the 13th home run that Anna Serafinko has surrendered. Breslin way out in front of it, no balls and 2 strikes. But so important, Adam, for UConn to answer right back. As you said, it's a team that leads the Big East in runs with 345. That was their league-leading 68th home run. Serafinko searching the outside corner, didn't find it. A ball and 2 strikes. So you get a look at Pettis. Lined right to the shortstop. Humpback lineup for the second out of the inning, as Gerard had it played perfectly.
One hard hop right in front of home plate and made it easy enough for Gerard over there. So we saw make a spectacular play in the 6th inning yesterday that changed the complexion of a game. It was initially ruled an infield single for Lexi Hastings, but was overturned on review.
Garcia gets into one of the gap in right center, but Bianco, smooth as silk in the outfield, puts it away. But UConn gets on the board. The freshman, Kat Pettis, ended the no-hit bid with 1 out in the 4th with her 12th home run of the season. Through 4 at Droll Family Field, St. John's 4, UConn 1.
New arm in the circle for the UConn Huskies after 4 innings from Peyton Kinney, in which she only allowed 2 hits. She turns it over to Sydney Cush, who pitched yesterday really well in relief, and that helped lower some of the numbers on the season, dropped the ERA below 6.5, and she knows there isn't a whole lot of margin for error here today when you're going up against Anna Serafinko. You can't allow St. John's to keep building up a lead, and that's the goal here in this 5th inning, is the top of the lineup due up for the Red Storm.
So, Sydney Cush, who had not pitched in about a month. We also have Heidi Barber in behind the plate, and Grace Jenkins goes to the designated player. Bianco bunts it. Third base side. Garcia, no chance. Bianco just too fast. Leadoff single for the Red Storm here in the 5th.
Knowing what you know now, if you're Rosie Garcia, you at least chance it and let this thing potentially bounce foul. It's close to the line. Maybe it doesn't kick foul, but as you can see with that speed you talk about, Joe, there was not a chance you were going to get Bianco.
28 of 31 on the bases. Big challenge for the freshman catcher, Heidi Barber, who has thrown out 2 of 13 base runners.
So for Barber, she'll bat 3rd next inning.
Pitch outside to London Gerard, who got it all going last inning with a 4-pitch leadoff walk. So Kinney goes 4, gave up 2 hits and 4 earned runs. Bianco with world-class speed at first, and Cush can't find the strike zone, 3-0. Sydney on the season 6-8. This is her 12th relief appearance of the year. And a 4-pitch walk, so immediate problems for Sydney Cush, whose control can be an issue. Hit batsmen have been a issue for Cush all year. She's hit 16, she's thrown 22 wild pitches. So St. John set up to expand the lead Great speed on the bases in Bianco, and Gerard. Here's Anise Thompson, who got a single for the first St. John's hit last inning.
5 straight out of the zone, and this prompts a visit at the circle. No flash of a bunt there from Anise Thompson, who has not laid down a bunt this year.
And I would think with a 4-1 lead, you want Thompson to try to get into one and break it wide open.
Based on that first pitch, it certainly seems like that's going to be part of the plan.
And you've got such good speed. Bianco, the runner at second. Gerard, the runner at first. Kibling shifted over to left center. Hastings deep in left for the right-hand hitting Thompson. And Cush can't find the strike zone. 2 balls and no strikes. Anise Thompson, only 4 home runs on the season for a team that is 5th in the Big East with 38 home runs. Thompson taken all the way, 2-1. Now let's see what the conference is here. DiPolo calls timeout.
Maybe she is thinking about laying down a bunt here.
Calls over Marissa Rizzi. Well, I think what they're doing is they're checking the scouting report on Sidney Cush. Looks like Marissa Rizzi has all the pertinent information as they confer. 4-1 St. John's here in the top of the 5th inning, and David Bueno is going to say enough already. Let's go. So now there's no reason for this to take this long. So the conference is over. Bianco on second, Gerard on first. 2-1 count to Thompson. Fouls it off, 2 balls and 2 strikes.
And after all that, the scouting report said swing.
Once again, and this turned into a story for UConn this weekend, the unavailability of their number 2 pitcher, Hope Jenkins. Caught by Cush. It'll be a double play. That's how to help yourself on the bump. 1-3 double play, 15th double play turned by the Huskies this year, and just like that, there's 2 away.
Stick the glove down, and Cush looked to second initially. You see Gerard take off. Cush peeks at second, and everybody in the ballpark started screaming for her to throw to first.
First pitch to Serafino. Serafico fouled off. And Serafinko 0 for 2 today. But her main job here is to get 9 more outs and put a trophy on that bus back to Queens. Cush ahead on the count 0-2.
Trophies in the ballpark. One team will be handed the regular season title today, and so far it's the grand slam by Melanie Santos that has put St. John's in the driver's seat.
You went down and got a picture with the trophy. Did they let you touch it, or is it like the Stanley Cup? Woodhopper past Pettis into center field for a base hit. Bianco scores without a throw. It's a ribby single for Anna Serafinko, helping her own cause. And St. John's answers right back. They lead it by a score of 5-1.
Really nice piece here by Serafinko, who at times this weekend hasn't hit the ball too hard, but stays through this one. And Kat Pettis would have loved to at least just knock it down, but that got past her too quickly to do so.
And you know what? If you're Kat and you knock it down, if it bounces 5 feet away, Bianco's going to score anyways with her speed. It's it's same story as Lexi Hastings. Here's Leshak 0 for 1 with a walk. 5-1 Red Storm. That one's fouled off the screen. And Cush ahead on the count, 0-2.
Well, looking ahead to next week, whether Hope Jenkins is available to pitch will be a big storyline for UConn and for the entire conference in the Big East tournament.
Pitch grounded foul up the third baseline. All right, Jenkins had been pitching extremely well, and you picked up on this Friday, looked to do something during an at-bat and has been rendered out of combat since. Swung on and missed. Strike 3, but the Red Storm open up that 4-run lead again. A run on 2 hits and 1 left. It'll be Kupal, Kibling, and Barber in the bottom of the 5th with St. John's leading 5-1. Along with our producer-director, Noam Watt, and my broadcast partner, Adam Giordino, I'm Joe D'Ambrosio. Our final UConn softball telecast of the year, as the good folks at Villanova will take over for the tournament. Last couple of games of the tournament will be nationally broadcast on FS1 and FS2. Just want to thank everybody here at UConn for making it such a good year, led by head coach Laura Valentino and, of course, the Minister of Information, Manny Hazakostas, who does such a great job helping us. Here's Kupal. Struck out her first time up. Leadoff hitters for UConn this weekend, just 3 for 18 against this St. John's pitching staff.
Good way to be effective if you're a St. John's pitcher. Get that first out.
Kupal twitches. Called a strike by David Bueno. A ball and a strike. The big blow of the game, the grand slam by Melanie Santos. Lofted down the right field line. Foul ball by maybe an inch or two. But the real big at-bat of the game was the at-bat to Stouffer, who was behind on the count. I think it was 0-2 or 1-2.
0-2.
At 0-2, and Kinney hit her, loading the bases.
Yep.
Setting the stage for the Santos ground ball. Let's see how much this misses by.
About a
Maybe
full
2
ball.
inches.
Yeah.
Maybe the width of the softball. The circumference, as we like to say. Ground ball, hard off the second baseman. It rolls into short center field, so Kupal, a leadoff base runner to start the 5th. Single for Haley Kupal, just the second UConn hit against Deanna Serafinko.
Yeah, this was absolutely scored. If Casto is able to get a glove on it and get it in her glove, she's going to be able to pop up and have plenty of time to make a play on Kupal.
In at the corners for Kibling. Pitch way outside for a ball. Kibling put a pretty good charge into one that Bianco ran down in center field. Her first time up. Down 5-1. You don't think Kupal's going to be running. 1-0 pitch framed nicely by Thompson and called a strike by David Bueno.
Yeah.
Ball and a strike.
Kupal has 3 steals on the season and down 4. You want to create some chaos. That's a recipe for success if you're UConn, but Probably not the right person to start creating chaos with.
No, she's 2 batters away.
That'd be Lexi Hastings.
Yeah. 2-1. Kibling's done a great job in the Big East season of getting on base. Huskies need base runners. Can't catch up to that pitch from Serafinko. And the count even at 2-2. Ellie Barber, who came in to catch when Grace Jenkins moved to the designated player, awaits on deck. This is outside. Now, that pitch was outside from the start. And Thompson, the way she moved her glove, there was no chance David Bueno was going to give her the strike call there. So it'll be a payoff pitch to Caitlin Kibling with 1 on and nobody out here in the 5th. This is ball 4. Second walk handed out by Serafinko. And it brings up Heidi Barber. And I would think here, you think about putting down a bunt. No?
Don't know.
You got Hastings. You got 2 of your better hitters on deck in Hastings and Grace Jenkins. Now, Hastings has had a relatively rough weekend, but you go with Lexi's track record. Squares to bunt, pulls the bat back. It's in for a strike.
And this is interesting because if you are saying for Barber to bunt, she has laid down 4 sacrifices this year, but Savannah Ring, who she's replaced, has laid down 4 bunts as well and is a pretty good bunter in her own right.
Squares to bunt, and it's nothing in 2. Freshman catcher out of Minnesota. She has seen more playing time as the season has worn on. Former JV high school quarterback. Upal on second, Kibling on first. Misses outside. And again, that's been the Serafinko pattern. Try to expand the strike zone when you're ahead on the count 0-2. Serafinko hasn't had a strikeout since the last out of the second. Good job by Barber to spoil it. Lexi Hastings awaits on deck. 5-1 St. John's. Here in the bottom of the 5th inning with the Big East regular season championship on the line. Barber fouls another one off.
Able to go up and get a pitch that throws up out of the zone, but if you're going to commit, got to get a piece of it.
Ran into Haley's parents a couple of games ago. They make the trip from Minnesota. They're about half an hour from Minnesota. And, shockingly, there are direct flights from Minnesota to Hartford into Bradley World-Class Airport. So Barber is even the count at 2-2. With Kupal, the runner on second. Kibling with great speed, the runner on first. Inside, ball 3. Maybe Serafinko wearing down a little bit.
You can see that the velocity is down just a touch, but that's based on just how hard she throws coming out of the gate to begin a game.
Payoff pitch to Barber. Spoils it, fouls it off.
Go pick up all the cheat sheets on the ground.
Tries to put it back into her wrist, and Laura Valentino says, I'll take it.
Not
Here's what you got to do on 3-2.
Yeah.
Swing the bat. You don't need the cheat code here. Outfield straight away for the right-hand hitting Barber. Called strike 3. Barber thought it was ball 4, but David Bueno rung her up. 5th strikeout of the game for Serafinko, and there's 1 down.
Pitcher's pitch.
Yep. Pretty good pitch. Here's Hastings. Struck out in the 1st. Flew to center in the 3rd. Fouls it off. 0-1. Lexi now 5 for her last 25. An uncharacteristic slump for this superb senior. Playing in her 206th game for the Huskies. Fouls that one off the screen, and quickly Serafinko ahead on the count, 0-2. Grace Jenkins awaits on deck. Wind has picked up in velocity, blowing from right to left. Fouled off again. Boy, there's a big gap in left center field between Stouffer and Bianco. Lexi can hit one in the gap. She might run forever. Kupal on second, Kibling on first. One out here in the fifth. Misses outside again. I mean, the pattern has been the exact same that we've seen the two games that Serafinko has pitched today.
Well, you get ahead of these hitters,
right,
and you've got a pitch or two where you can force them into your hand.
Swung on and missed. Strike three. And there's two away. Back-to-back strikeouts as Serafinko bears down after the first two runners reached.
Infield single, then a walk. And now the baton gets handed off to Grace Jenkins after a pitch that just runs all the way away from Lexi Hastings.
Grace walked in the first, grounded back to Serafinko in the third. UConn single-season home run leader with 18. 30 in her career, that's third all-time. One behind Brianna Marcelino, four behind Micah Truax, but Grace Jenkins has another year. 1-0 pitch. That's in at the knees for a strike, a ball and a strike.
Hey, you suspect she'll get there, right?
Yes. Not a betting man, but I would bet that's the case. Kae Higa waits on deck. Pop foul. So Serafinko ahead on the count, 1-2. St. John's 4 in the fourth, all on the Melanie Santos Grand Slam, 1 in the fifth on the RBI single by Serafinko. Kat Pettis went out, homer in the fourth, the only UConn run of the game, as the count's even at 2-2. So deuces are wild. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 on, 2 out here in the fifth inning. UConn trying to battle back from 5-1 down. Tipped. Grace Jenkins stays alive as Thompson couldn't squeeze it. So we'll do it again.
Just barely got a piece.
Yeah. Paul on second, Kibling on first. Fly ball, left field, right in her tracks is Stouffer. So UConn gets the first 2 runners on, and Serafinko tightens the door. Adam will take you the rest of the way through 5. It's 5-1. St. John's here on the Big East Digital Network.
St. John's with a 5-1 lead headed to the 6th inning. They've got 6 defensive outs to go, but they'd love to grow a lead against Sydney Cush and pick up a 4th regular season title. It'd be the first since 2019 for the Red Storm. Some trouble for St. John's pitching in the 5th inning. A single allowed to Haley Kupal, then a walk, but a couple of strikeouts help out the cause, and now it's St. John's with Stouffer, Santos, and Casto due up at 6, 7, 8 for the Johnnies here in the 6th. He's Joe D'Ambrosio, Adam Giardino with you. Thanks to our entire crew back across the way in Rizza and also here on site at Burrell Family Field. First pitch is a strike to Cassidy Stouffer.
It's a crew that works very, very hard behind the scenes. Does a terrific job. Work hour in advance of the broadcasts.
Beautiful off-speed pitch in for strike 2. Here number 5 at Burrell Family Field, home of the UConn Huskies. Hosted a couple of the Big East tournaments since its inception. On the ground, takes Higa right to the bag.
It's been a friendly home field for UConn, 57-20, and in conference play, 44-12. In fact, not off the top of my head, but I can't think of UConn losing back-to-back games here. Conference games. I know last year they dropped a doubleheader to BU, but they have used this as a great home field advantage. But the ballpark couldn't hold a shot by the batter Melanie Santos for that fourth inning grand slam that broke the seal on the scoring.
Here's a fly ball by Santos, sends Kibling back. She makes the catch on another well-hit ball for the, at the moment, hero, Melanie Santos.
Kibling had her play deep, so about halfway on the warning track, Kibling runs it down.
Between Kibling and Jess Bianco, we have seen some really nice center field play this weekend.
Elite defensive center fielders.
Both. Natalie Casto reached on a hit by pitch from San Clemente, California. Tapper. This is Pettis. It rolls up on her, and Casto reaches with 2 outs.
Just came up on it. Nothing more simple than that. 13th error of the year on the freshman from Vestal, New York. So a 2-out base runner. And again, doesn't need a big explanation here. Cat just booted it.
Came up and caught the inside of that left wrist area. This is Konopka after the inning is extended off of Sydney Cush.
First error of the game on UConn, 55th on the season on the Huskies. They came into the week 8th in fielding percentage in the 9-team Big East.
Second error of the weekend, Jess Bianco, who waits on deck. She reached on an error in the 3rd inning on Friday, but was eliminated on a caught stealing. So no unearned runs have plagued UConn so far this weekend. The ball and a strike on Konopka. Heidi Barber remains in at catcher. Two balls and a strike. Line drive down in front of Hastings. And the lineup turns it over with 2 outs for Jess Bianco.
Well, that error could prove to be very costly. As you see, Bianco has been on a roll. So Cush got the first 2 out, but then the error by Pettis and the line drive hit by the number 9 hitter, Madison Konopka.
The strike 1 to Jess Bianco.
Pretty good weekend for Konopka, now 2 for 6.
Swing and a miss by Bianco, who, despite having the outstanding elite steals, speed, batting average. There's a little bit of strikeout in her game. She has struck out 4 times this weekend. Down 0-2. And this one gets away. It got in the dirt, and Barber not able to get in front of it. So Casto up to third, Konopka to second.
23rd wild pitch of the season by Sydney Cush.
A ball, 2 strikes. Good spot, better take by Bianco.
St. John's with 5 hits with runners in scoring position this weekend. None more important than the Santos Grand Slam, which came with 2 out in the 4th.
2-2. Full count.
Cush, who didn't pitch last year, transfer from Robert Morris, or she did pitch last year, but not very much. Certainly has taken on a much bigger role this season.
Line drive hauled in by Pettis. As rain has arrived here in Storrs, we roll to the bottom of the 6th. UConn looks to rally as they trail St. John's, closing in on a Big East regular season title.
That gentleman's not protecting himself against the sunshine. Rain arriving at the end of the 6th inning. We had a 30-minute rain delay at the start of the game, but it's not raining hard enough to put a halt to the proceedings. Certainly if you're St. John's and Anna Serafinko, you just want to keep playing.
This game is obviously an official game already, and so should anything wonky happen weather-wise, it would revert to what would be a St. John's victory at the moment. Still 6 outs to go from an official win, though, if you're St. John's. Kaea Higa takes ball 1.
Which would be their school record 39th of the season.
Previous mark was 32 coming in. They made just the one NCAA tournament that came back in 2015. First 2 reached last inning for UConn. Serafinko able to dig her way out of it. Kaea Higa takes ball 2.
And again, heart of the order coming up for UConn. Pettis has already touched Serafinko for a home run in this one.
Ball on the outside corner for strike 2.
You weren't too sure about that, were you?
The count is even on Higa. Line drive, right center field. This one's down, and it splits the gap. Higa to second. She's got a double to begin the bottom of the 6th inning.
Boy, that is her lane. We've seen her tattoo that gap in right center. We saw her get a triple off Serafinko in the 6th inning on Friday. Now it's a double for Higa, her 9th double and 13th extra base hit of the season. And Kat Pettis looking to duplicate what she did her last time up.
And we've seen pinch runners for Higa over the course of this weekend. Rhea Snyder has replaced her twice on the base paths, but you're down 4 runs. You'd want to save Rhea Snyder potentially for a more critical run should you rally. That just misses to Pettis, 2-0. And it's worth reiterating that Pettis was able to do this off of Serafinko earlier. 12th of the year, and maybe Serafinko okay with first base open at the moment. But a 4-pitch walk has put the first 2 aboard for UConn in the 6th.
Base on balls number 3. Given up by Anna Serafinko and Caitlin Breslin set to take her shot at the St. John's ace.
Breslin pokes one to right field on a line. The catch made by Leshak. As Breslin attacks the first pitch she sees, and it goes for out number 1.
I don't have a problem with her swinging at the first pitch. Against somebody with as good a control as Serafinko, you have to figure after she walked about it, she was going to come in with a strike. She did, but Breslin could only slap it to right where it was easily caught.
Here's Garcia. She puts some air under one to left center field. It's a 1-run game.
Well, Rosie Garcia had the defensive play of the game. That her 5th home run of the season. And Adam, just like yesterday in the 6th inning, Pettis hit the 3-run homer to get UConn within 1. Now it's Garcia doing that.
For Garcia, she had been 4 for her last 21 in conference games. She comes up with the massive defensive play and now puts some doubt in the back of St. John's mind. Kupal fights off a first pitch.
For Rosie Garcia, career home run number 21.
And that was a look at Mackenzie Keys, second-year hitting coach for UConn, with the hug for Rosie Garcia. Beautiful pitch for strike 2 on Kupal.
Well, they haven't had to be very resilient. Watch Garcia, once again, as we said, not a poker face, which is great. You need emotion in a game like this playing for a title. And Rosie, who made the spectacular catch of the foul ball to make it 2 out in the 4th, gets UConn's 2nd home run of the game against Serafinko.
Kupal with a couple of strikes on her. She cuts at one at the eyes, and Serafinko goes upstairs to pick up another strikeout.
Kupal went chasing. 6th strikeout of the game for Anna Serafinko. But what this does is it assures Hastings and Grace Jenkins will get in a bat at least in the 7th inning.
Caitlin Kibling takes outside. She's been so good of late. Over her last near 20 games, Kibling with a .450 on-base percentage. And she takes a really nice pitch at the top of the zone.
Serafinko well over 100 pitches, but still reaching back for a little something extra in the tank.
Needed 135 pitches to get through 6 innings on Friday. Another good pitch for strike 2.
Or she can tattoo that outside corner with the best of them.
Hard to fake your way through 268 strikeouts coming in and now 275 on the season.
Looking to become the third St. John's pitcher to win Big East Pitcher of the Year honors. Madison Morris in 2019, Torrey Free in 2015.
2 balls, 2 strikes. It's Caitlin Kibling awaiting. Poked in back of second. Lee Shack, the right fielder, makes the grab, but we've got a new game on our hands. A 1-run game headed to the 7th. A 3-run shot from the senior. Rosie Garcia injects some life into the Huskies. Beautiful shot down on the field of Sydney Cush warming up for UConn. That shot is being brought to you by one of 2 seniors. There he is, Giulio Tozetto, one of a couple of seniors that are involved with today's broadcast. Senior day for the players yesterday. Giulio along with Nick Spinelli, who's doing replay for today's game. Big parts of what we're able to do in bringing you coverage of softball, of everything all year long. Giulio heads off for cover. Raining out there, Joe.
Raining again. Not sure what they're talking about down the first base line, but David Blaine says something to somebody in the UConn dugout, and we're ready.
Maybe it was Giulio. Here's London Gerard. First pitch, plunks her. And she reaches on a free pass for the 3rd time in the last 4 innings.
Well, and for Gerard, that is the 14th time this year that she's been hit by a pitch. And if you're Sydney Cush, that's the last thing you want. And I think we're going to get a pitching change, and Peyton Kinney's coming back.
Yeah, Peyton Kinney comes back in, 1 pitch in the 7th, and the leash too short with the Big East title on the line. And so Kinney, who threw 4 innings to start this one but gave up the grand slam in the 4th inning, returns as she's got Thompson, Serafinko, and Leshak due up. That's when we return. We'll step aside. And we'll step aside. We're back to Storrs in a moment.
So Peyton Kinney, who sailed through the first 3 innings, almost worked her way out of a 4th inning jam, but a 2-out hit batsman loaded the bases, and Melanie Santos unloaded them with a grand slam. Kinney gave up 2 hits in 4 innings, 4 earned runs, walked 2, and struck out 2.
One other piece of this is Kinney re-enters, but so does catcher Grace Jenkins. And so next inning, The leadoff batter is slated to be Savannah Ring for UConn in the bottom half. We'll see whether it is Ring that gets the opportunity to lead things off or whether they opt for a different bat. Here's Anise Thompson as the first pitch misses up from Kinney, who hasn't thrown a pitch today while it's been raining quite like this.
Yeah, rain has picked up a little bit in intensity. Now, Barber had been put in the game as the designated player and took a called third strike.
Hammered to third, Garcia. A strike to second. The turn to first. It's a double play.
Have a day, Rosie Garcia. Taylor made 5-4-3. Thompson doesn't run well. Good job by Kupal to take her time. Sixth time the UConn Huskies have turned a ground ball into 2 outs.
And the first time that Thompson has hit into one this year. And that's not easy, again, because of the conditions that both Garcia and Kupal, they did take their time to make sure they weren't rushing and throwing a ball away. So now it's Sarah Finko who wants to continue to help herself out. Last time up, Sarah Finko's 2-out single is what currently gives her the lead. It was the 5th run of the game for St. John's that she drove in. Tapper with English, smothered by Kinney, and it's UConn needing a run to tie it. 2 runs, walks it off for the Big East title. Don't go anywhere. Bottom 7 next.
So, explain this to me. So Savannah Ring in 2023 homered off St. John's in the first game of the series that year. She'd like to run into one here and get the game tied. We saw Peyton Kinney come back in re-entry and have success. Ring started as the designated player. When Cush came out when Barber went behind the plate. And now Ring back in to lead off the 7th. It'll be Ring, Hastings, and Grace Jenkins as Sarah Finko tries to sew it up. The win would be her 20th of the season.
Sarah Finko is requesting a little extra substance in order to help herself. Maybe a new rosin bag. That rosin bag wet. On plate up. Wants to make sure.
He's going to check her hands.
Nope, not confectioner sugar.
Yeah,
we're good.
I don't think in softball you have to worry about pitchers going out there and having illegal substances on their hands. I mean, come on.
Here's Savannah Ring. And a first pitch misses high.
Ring's got to be selective here. Sarah Finko has shown some bouts of wildness.
But pins the outside corner for a called strike 1.
Boy, she tattoos that pitch on the outside corner, doesn't she? And then if she gets 2 strikes, she'll try to expand the zone that way.
1-1, battled back. Savannah Ring was one of just 2 base runners to reach for UConn over the first 3 innings before Kat Pettis had a solo homer. Last inning, it was a 3-run home run by Rosie Garcia. All 4 runs today accounted by the long ball for the Huskies. The 1-2.
She didn't have a little extra adrenaline there, did she?
Think so. Reaching back as she approaches 120 pitches this afternoon. And she gets a strikeout. Number 8 on the day as Ring goes down to begin the 7th. Been a tough senior weekend for Lexi Hastings, who's hitless over the last 2 days. Pops it up behind the plate. It's the third baseman, Konopka. St. John's is 1 out away from a Big East regular season title.
Hastings trying to get jump on that first pitch, but Serafinko spotted it perfectly as you look inside that Red Storm dugout, and it's all up to the single-season home run leader.
Grace Jenkins flies one to left center field. Has she done it? She has! She sprints around the bases as she's tied this game in the 7th.
Number 19 of the season for Grace Jenkins hits the first pitch, and it's a no-doubter to left center field. Outer third, Serafinko didn't know if it was gone, and I think Grace Jenkins never run around the bases faster, and that's going to do it for Serafinko.
It's Lorelei Francia coming in for St. John's. Win or lose, you might have just crowned your Big East Player of the Year with a moment like that. Down to the final out. St. John's 1 moment away from a Big East title.
Well, that's the epitome of clutch. As you see Grace in the dugout talking to Peyton Kinney, getting a hug from her battery mate. UConn down to its final out, and Grace Jenkins didn't waste any time. 19th homer of the season, school record 64th RBI. Lorelei Francia yesterday, watch the reaction. Big hug from Rosie Garcia.
And there's some sisters.
Sisterly love.
This
Grace
is what
a little
they came
pumped.
to Storrs to try and accomplish. And even Hope seems in disbelief of what her twin just did.
So here's Francia, who yesterday struck out 11. In the 4-3 win, gave up 7 hits. Or rather, gave up 4 hits. 3 of them earned. Only walked 1. And struck out the 11. And she'll face Kaia Higa. And I don't know if some people left because of the rain, but if they did, boy, did they miss as dramatic a moment in UConn softball history in probably 3 decades as we see Grace Jenkins primping for the camera, and she's earned that.
So here's Kaia Higa against Lorelei Francia. And a pitch at the top of the zone is a strike as UConn needs to reorient itself against a pitcher who is the polar opposite in stuff from Anna Serafinko, even though the numbers are in the same stratosphere. Higa flies one to center field, and Bianco a step back before coming in. Let's decide the Big East regular season title in extras, shall we? We head to the 8th. This game is tied at 5.
All courtesy of Grace Jenkins. 1 out away, and she touches them all with the blast to left center field. St. John's 5, UConn 5. So courtesy of Grace Jenkins, UConn goes to extra innings for the 6th time this year. The Huskies are 2-3 in bonus cantos. Their last one was a 10-8 win in 8 innings at DePaul. Meanwhile, the Red Storm 2-2-1 in extra innings. Peyton Kinney against Alana Leshak to lead off the 8th.
Leshak has had an outstanding weekend. And a first pitch misses down and in. It's Leshak, Stouffer, and Santos. Well, for St. John's, needing to pick itself off the mat here. And a liner foul, squared up.
But that's what we saw a lot of early on. St. John's way ahead of the pitch, following it down the left field line. That was a constant in the first 3 innings. Not in the 4th when St. John's got to Kinney for 4 runs.
Two balls and a strike.
So in the final Big East game of the regular season, 7 innings was not enough to decide a champion.
Why not? The 2-1 to Leshak. And it's 3 balls and a strike. Last inning, St. John's had the leadoff base runner reach with a hit by pitch, but a double play ended that immediately. St. John's looking to have a leadoff base runner for the 4th time in the last 5 innings.
And 2 of them have scored.
And it's way up out of the zone and a 5-pitch walk. Leshak walks for the 2nd time.
And again, she's a perfect 16 for 16 on the bases. We'll see if they have Stouffer try to push her along. Rosie Garcia basically playing in Stouffer's hip pocket. Higa comes way in at first as well. Middle infield shortened up.
Jam in back of shorts, and it drops down over the top of Pettis. The first 2 have reached as Stouffer bloops one in.
Well, I had mentioned that Pettis had shortened up. I'm not sure if even if she was back at regular depth, she would come up with that. So here's the question. Melanie Santos is, Giselle Juarez goes out to talk to her battery. So you've got Santos, who the last time she faced Kinney hit a grand slam. Now you've got the go-ahead run at second, an insurance run at first. Do you have her bunt?
I think this,
Yeah?
a run is just so important at this moment. You want a crooked number, you want as many runs, but just a run, so important here for St. John's.
I think the coaches are talking it over. DePaulo and Rizzi. This was the last time Kinney faced Santos. Sent the St. John's dugout into euphoria. Santos touches them all for the 5th time this year. That extended her hitting streak to 9. UConn's going to play for the bunt. Now Garcia retreats a little bit.
So here's Santos. Looking like she'll swing away in a first pitch. Misses up.
One of the things Kinney can't do here is she can't overthrow. She's got to be able to spot her pitches, make Santos hit her pitch.
Two and 0. Yeah, obviously if you're Kinney, you don't want to put one in the wheelhouse of Santos, but you've suddenly now put yourself in a spot where you almost have to.
Yeah, got to throw a strike on 2-0. It's a damage pitch for Santos.
Bunt, popped it up and foul.
Maybe the step or two Garcia took back. McKinney's limping. Kinney hurt herself coming off the circle. Now she's walking it off. Trying to say she's okay. This is already a pitching staff without number 2, Hope Jenkins.
Let's take a look here. Watch Kinney coming out of the circle.
Yeah. Looked like she had a little glitch in her giddy up in about the 4th step.
2 balls and a strike. Santos takes ball 3. Walk, single, and now you've fallen behind Santos. On deck is Natalie Casto. Fouled back. Big time payoff pitch coming up here for both Kinney and Santos.
And you see the UConn dugout with the rhythmic applause. Sarah Blaskowitz, the backup catcher, leading the cheers in the dugout. Huge pitch for Kinney.
3 balls, 2 strikes. Santos awaits. Line foul down the line as Hastings eases up.
St. John's has done a really good job today. And I didn't see yesterday, but I would think they did the same thing early, spoiling a lot of Kinney pitches. There have been a lot of foul balls in this one against Kinney.
You know, Kinney got 10 outs on 52 pitches yesterday.
They bring a new ball into play. You got good speed on the bases. And Leshak and Stouffer.
Three balls, 2 strikes. Way upstairs as it gets away, and it's bases loaded. Nobody out for St. John's.
That is the 4th walk given up by Kinney. So the Huskies will have to bring the infield in to try to cut down the go-ahead run at the plate as Melanie Casto steps in.
Here's the pitch to Casto, and that one misses up. This is an area for UConn where free passes have been troubling. Casto bounces one foul at her own dugout. It's Joe D'Ambrosio, Adam Giardino with you. It's UConn and St. John's for a Big East title. And we're in extras. A ball and a strike. Swing through a changeup by Casto.
Boy, that was about as good a changeup, Adam, as we've seen Kinney throw today. Casto way out in front of it.
Couple of strikes on her. Casto wants to put a ball in play. Watches it go by for ball 2.
Well, it's been a game befitting of a championship game, hasn't it?
Nip and tuck.
UConn counter-punching.
Kinney hits the century mark. Pitch number 101. A check swing. Casto didn't offer. St. John's wants to reclaim the lead any way possible. The Red Storm hasn't trailed today. Line drive caught by Garcia, who's unable to apply a tag as she lunged at Leshak. One away.
Great reflexes by Rosie Garcia down at third. I think we're going to get a pinch hitter here for the Red Storm.
Sarah Post, who has pinch hit in both games, a pop out and a hit by pitch.
In her 2 pinch hit opportunities this weekend.
So it'll be Post, the pinch hitter. This was almost another spectacular play from Rosie Garcia. Watch how close this is at third. Boy, Leshak barely got back in time. Got the right foot back in, though, so now Kinney will do battle with Post.
1 out. Post takes in for a strike. Despianco waits on deck. A likely all Big East performer. Post in the air, down the line. Hastings, she makes the catch and throws to third. The run is home. And St. John's has a 6-5 lead in extras.
You almost don't want to catch that ball.
Yeah.
You almost don't want to catch it. Because Hastings had no chance to throw out Leshak. So, a big RBI for Post, and the Red Storm regain the lead.
So here is Bianco. Leshak scoring after the leadoff walk to begin the 8th. UConn has Pettis, Breslin, and Garcia due up in the bottom.
Just the 4th RBI of the season for Post, but certainly the most important to date.
2-0.
And again, Adam, you'd have to think Kinney's purely on fumes here. Big effort on Friday. Knocked out yesterday. Knocked out and came back today.
Picks up a strike over the inside half. Bianco can give some cushion with a hit here. Instead, she jackknifes out of the way. It's 3 balls and a strike.
And you don't want Bianco to reach, not just because of what it would mean now, but Grace Jenkins' main competition for Player of the Year, London Gerard, on deck.
Kinney lumbering around out there.
Yeah, she definitely did something to her lower frame, chasing after that foul pop-up.
Certainly thank you for making us part of your Sunday afternoon. We got underway 30 minutes later than expected due to some rain in the forecast. The tarp came on pretty much as we were ready to get this thing started, but got underway with a 135 first pitch. 3 balls and a strike, hits the zone, and it's a full count. Both Stouffer from second and Santos from first will be off with the pitch.
Kibling, shallow in left center. Breslin, shallow in right.
3-2. Back to the screen.
And Hastings, shallow in left. Bianco, without a home run on the season, only 5 extra base hits, 4 doubles and a triple. And the outfield shortened up because maybe on a one-hopper, they want to have a shot at Stouffer at the plate.
Another 3-2 pitch. Battled away once again by Bianco.
Boy, they have had some battles this weekend, Kinney and Bianco. Bianco just keeps fouling pitches off.
At a time where Kinney is running low on ways to get you out. The 8th inning today. Bianco is okay with just keep battling.
Yeah, just playing pepper with her. Fouling it off, keeping the at-bat alive. Red Storm already a run across here in the 8th.
Three-two again, and it gets the dirt. And it's a walk to load the bases for London Gerard.
Well, so we've mentioned all weekend long that Grace Jenkins and Gerard, in our minds, are the 2 top contenders for Conference Player of the Year. It's been a busy weekend for Peyton Kinney in the circle. We've seen Grace Jenkins step up. Now can London Gerard. Kinney wants a new softball.
By the way, that many pitches thrown by Kinney, not to be outdone, Anna Serafinko had thrown 254 pitches before getting lifted. So about 20 more pitches for Kinney, 30 more pitches for Kinney than Serafinko opposite her this weekend. First pitch to Gerard. Squeezes out of the mitt of Grace Jenkins for ball 1.
Well, and Kinney's gotten her total in 3 games. Serafinko's only gotten hers in 2.
Serafinko with 119 today, 135 on Friday, but we expect it's Lorelei Francia, who recorded the final out in the 7th inning, who will be on with at least a 1-run lead in the bottom of the 8th. Gerard takes up and away for ball 2.
Well, Kinney's got to dot the strike zone here. But I don't think Gerard's going to be in a mood where she's going to automatically take a strike.
Pops it up. It's Garcia who navigates the third base bag. She squeezes it with 2 hands. And UConn comes to bat yet again, down a run. They got the homer they needed in the 7th. What awaits them in the bottom of the 8th?
4, 5, and 6 for UConn to try to keep the season alive again. Huskies trailed 4-0, 5-1, 5-4. They've never led this afternoon in this Big East regular season championship game, and Kat Pettis got them on the board in the fourth with her 12th home run of the season. That came against Anna Serafinko. Now she's stepping up against Laura Lee Francia. But she hit a homer off her yesterday, right? Wasn't it Pettis who hit a 3-run blast?
Sure did. In the bottom of the sixth inning, it brought UConn back from 4-0 to 4-3. That was the final score. Pettis is the one batter for UConn this weekend who has been great throughout. She has reached in 6 of 9 plate appearances. 1 for 2 today with the homer and a walk. The 1-0. Down the middle for a strike. Francia's 1-1. Just misses up and away.
I thought I saw David Bueno start to flinch with that right arm, but he kept it down.
You and Francia both. 2 balls, 1 strike. Up and in, and it gets the bat of Pettis. And so instead of potentially ball 3, the count is even at 2-2. Francia with a sub-2 ERA this season, but a lot of that work came in the non-conference. Her ERA in Big East play is 2.5. A little more pedestrian, but not much. 2-2. Pettis swings and misses. Cuts through it. And a big strikeout for the first out of the 8th.
2-2 pitch. Pitch moved up in the zone, and Pettis couldn't catch up to it.
Now here's Caitlin Breslin, who's been on the quieter side this weekend as well. She's 1 for 9, but packs a wallop with her 16 homers this season. A sac fly produced the go-ahead run in the top of the inning. A trophy awaits being awarded at the conclusion of this one to the winner for the Big East regular season title. Breslin jams one back.
Only question is, will it walk across the street or get on a bus?
Michelle DiPolo in her second season at the helm of St. John's looks on as the count now moves to 2-2.
Look inside that St. John's dugout. Kind of on pins and needles. They've been in this spot before last inning.
Blown foul by Breslin. She stays alive. Another 2-2. Swing and a miss over the top of a drop ball. That was beautiful from Francia. And now for the second time in as many innings, St. John's 1 out away from a Big East title.
Rosie Garcia in inning number 6 put a charge into this one and into the crowd. That got UConn within 5-4.
The first pitch to Garcia here in the 8th is high for a ball.
You don't want to put the tying run on base, but I think they're going to be very careful with Rosie Garcia here.
And they've stayed away with 2 straight offerings. Francia's retired all 3 that she's faced in back of Anna Serafinko. 2-0 to Garcia. Catches all of the plate for a strike.
Garcia taking all the way, wanting Francia to come in with one.
Double-digit homers last year as a first-team All-Big East performer. Line drive down the line, base hit, stabbed by Stouffer, and the tying run is aboard for UConn.
Second hit of the game for Rosie Garcia. Line drive down the left field line, played flawlessly by Stouffer. A couple of weeks ago here on a Friday night, Haley Kupal ran into one for her first UConn home run.
A grand slam against Georgetown. The pitch to Kupal grabs the top of the zone for a strike. Garcia not a stolen base threat, but Laura Valentino likes what Garcia can do when she gets to top speed. The 0-1, Kupal down to her final strike. No balls, 2 strikes, Francia. A pitch away, leaves it high.
Where you can cut the tension with a knife here. I mean, that's every pitch, the crowd on the edge of their seats, the St. John's fans hoping for victory.
Another 2-strike pitch, battled away by Kupal.
Francia getting in on Kupal's hands. Kupal able to loft it foul. We need a softball.
It's been a 1-2 punch of Serafinko and Francia all season long. Francia, line drive, right center field, cut off by Bianco. Garcia hesitates. She dives into third. Runners at the corners with 2 outs as UConn stays alive.
Can you say almost disaster? It got to Bianco quickly. Watch Garcia. Watch her, she goes around second. Bianco got there quickly. Garcia stopped and then said, uh-oh, I gotta go. So there's runners on the corner for Caitlin Kibling. And this UConn team, boy, I'll tell you what, you gotta respect their resiliency. They just will not quit. Watch Garcia on the isolated camera. I'm gonna stop, now I'm gonna go. And the right play by Bianco, throw it into second. Keep Kupal there. Second hit of the game for Haley Kupal.
Caitlin Kibling takes a pitch high. Savannah Ring waits on deck.
Nobody said this would be easy.
For St. John's and Francia, it has not been. Ball 2.
And suddenly Francia can't find the plate. You know, this is the point where the old baseball adage, walks as good as a hit. Right now it is.
2-0 to Caitlin Kibling. A wild pitch would put things into motion as well, as that one's cavalierly backhanded by Thompson.
Green light here, right? For your number 8 hitter?
The 3-0. Kibling takes a strike.
Oh. Caitlin Kibling and most of this crowd of 528 thought this was ball 4. Let's get a look at it. Iffy.
The top of the zone.
Yeah, borderline strike.
So it's 3-1 now to Kibling. Francia delivers. And now One strike away yet again for the Red Storm. Hupal off with the pitch. The pitch home. Ball 4. Bases loaded for Savannah Ring.
Great patience by Caitlin Kibling there. She had taken the 3-1 pitch, thought it was ball 4, called the strike by David Bueno. So now the tying run at third, the championship run at second, as that pitch wasn't close. And it's up to Savannah Ring,
who struck out to begin last inning and takes down the middle for a strike here. It's been a tough end of the season for Ring, whose batting average has dipped below 200 on the season. She's just 2 of her last 23.
There's really not much to add here. I mean, it's just pitcher batter.
1 ball, 1 strike. A little hot.
Ooh.
Just a little. Instead of 2 strikes, it's 2 balls and 1 strike.
I'll tell you what, if the 3-1 pitch was a strike, the 1-1 pitch was a strike. But UConn will take it.
2 balls a strike. Ring takes. And once again, Lorelei Francia and St. John's a strike away, a pitch away from a Big East title. 2-2, the pitch.
Can you wring any more drama out of this, my friend? Runnels would be going on the pitch. A base hit would most definitely score the championship run.
3 balls, 2 strikes, battled away by Ring, who stays alive.
Ring's got some pop in her bat. A couple of home runs on the year. We haven't seen it recently.
Another 3-2 pitch. Fly ball to Leshak. She's got it. And the Johnnies have its first Big East title since 2019. They fall on Friday, they come back and win it Saturday, and win it in extras here today.
Well, Savannah Ring and the Huskies battled as St. John's, for the 4th time in school history, is the Big East champion. They will be the 1 seed in the Big East tournament, and they will play the winner of Creighton and Butler. UConn will be the 2 seed, and in the second game on Thursday, they'll play the winner of Villanova.